Heredad de Mayo, everybody. Of course, the wonderful work there of our channel sponsors. Heredad de Mayo, Bobby O'Reilly will be with us in the morning on the Good Morning Portugal show at 8:30 Portuguese time. It is 21:15 here in Portugal. Yes, this late arrival sponsored by a Windows update and restart. And what was especially galling about that is that it couldn't do the update it wanted to do. I'm stuck in an eternal Windows loop of it wanting to update my computer, which seems to be holding up okay. I'm trying a different PC tonight, on my laptop, instead of the PC that I've been using that gave us all manner of hellacious difficulties this morning. Let's see if this works any better. New studio, new setup, all kinds of variables in the mix. Let's see how it goes this evening. And thank you, Windows, for delaying my start and not even being able to update what you wanted to update. Will I forever be in that, and my descendants be in that loop of needing to update something which can't be completed, and I'll just be going around on that level for eternity? Thank you for being here tonight. Hello, America. This is Portugal. I hope you enjoyed the opening sequence there. And can we do anything to help you this evening? Tom Smith, there he is. Well, thank you so much for waiting around, Tom, and sending me a message. Beneath this fairly calm exterior is quite a lot of turmoil and anxiety and tech-induced anxiety. Charles is also here. Hola, boa noite, Mr. Munson. Hi, Charles. How are you? It's so good to see you. How long ago was that now? I bet time has flown, and it was some time ago. But it seems like only yesterday that we were at the meetup, where I'll be tomorrow. Savika Anna's joining us tomorrow for the meetup, which will be fun. And I hope to say hello to you one of these days, sometime soon, Charles. When are you coming back? Tom Smith, same. I'm not sure you've got any trips planned anytime soon, Tom, but this is a good way of checking in and keeping up to date and helping with the next step on the journey. That's how I see it. There's always on this journey of thousands of steps potentially. All you got to do is take the next one, then the next one, then the next one, and then you look back and you are here in Portugal. I think it is as simple as that, but it's a lot more complicated as well. Thank you, Tom, for being here. And I had the same issue with Windows at work today. Well, it wanted to update for you, and then when you tried, it couldn't do it anyway. Windows, what are you like? Benoit, Tordos from Lisbon. Yeah, Bill Gates, why don't you stick to changing the world or whatever it is you're doing? Boa noite a todos from Lisboa. When life closes a door, it opens a Windows update. Oh, yes. Very good. Excellent stuff. Amy and Greg, how are you this evening? And hi to John, who's backstage. Hey, John, looking forward to hanging out with you in the Portugal Club at 10 o'clock this evening. In the meantime, if you've got any questions, front or back of house, and it's about time we had a GMP VIP after show party, isn't it? I think one Friday morning. Maybe we'll do that this week. If there's any, if anybody would like to do that, let me know if you're watching in the chat tonight, or if you see this later on and you think that's a nice idea. It will be Portugal time at around 10:30. 10:30. We can cut the Iberian FM phone in short, or finish on time, I should say, and then we can have a GMP VIP hangout on the Friday. So we'll have a look at the English-speaking Portugal news outlets, and that will be the Portugal and the Portugal news. So we'll take a look at those this evening. And I want to let you know as well, on tomorrow's show, as well as Bobby O'Reilly, we will have Alison Baxley. Now, Alison's done the most amazing job in putting together the Portugal plan. If you're a regular viewer, you will know that the Portugal plan, well, we're involved. Me and Mrs. Emma are involved in it. It's a virtual summit that's happening. I believe, if I can find it. Oh yeah, virtual. No, still can't find it. Maybe I cleared my cache. So not as well as all of that other malarkey. I also have cleared all my previous entries into the search bar or Google. So now I can't find anything I'm looking for. Renovating life, moving to Portugal with family. Okay, here's Alison Baxley. Let me share this with you now. This could be a great asset to you. I'll bring it onto the screen now. She's going to join us on the show in the morning. Portugal with family, renovating life. Let me bring that onto the screen for you now. Here you go. Great job Alison's done with this website. Except I have consent. I haven't got time to go in and change all those settings. How annoying is that these days on the internet? There you go. There is dreaming of moving to Portugal. Let me tone down the background so that you can see this a little bit better. Oh, there you go. That's nice, isn't it? And let's see if there are any more hellos. Nubionet's in as well. My wife usually clears my cache. Cookies! Did somebody say cookies? Stephen White, you legend. You're here. Great hanging out with you last week. Glad to see you here again. Tom Smith, my in-laws want to do something adventurous next year. I know a perfect place to go. Yes! Get them to watch this, Tom. This summit. Are you involved? Look, as soon as you go to the site, renovatinglife.com, you're invited to later. You're invited to sign up for probably the newsletter. And you're invited to move to Portugal. Are you dreaming of moving to Portugal? We're not sure where to start. Get your free tickets to the Portugal Plan Virtual Summit. And I think, even though some of you are already here in Portugal, I think this could be a lot of fun for some of the services, some of the people you haven't met yet, professionals and friends alike, because it's a line that can be blurred, can't it? Finding people who you get on with, who may offer professional services, but they also may be great pals with a similar backstory to you. So get your free ticket to the Portugal Plan Virtual Summit, all online, 45 speakers, plus me and Mrs. M, and a few of the other Good Morning Portugal team are part of this as well. 5 days of talks, all your questions answered. Now, this is Alison, who is behind the whole project of Renovating Life and the Portugal Plan Virtual Summit. They are the Baxleys, and I won't go to. I'll be talking to Alison about all of this tomorrow, her backstory and how she got to be here and how she's helping other people now. But I just wanted to show you that's the Renovating Life. That is the backstory website, really. And then if you click through to the Portugal Plan Virtual Summit pages, they will eventually load. Get your free ticket there. So that's the plan.heysummit.com. I think there's a lot of value to be had. Even if I say so myself as one of the speakers, between the 15th and the 19th of May. So not long now, less than a week away. That's the Portugal Plan Virtual Summit. You know where to go. Oh, I thought I was showing you the Portugal Plan Virtual Summit, but it would appear that it opened in a new window. So let me just very quickly show you what you might well be looking for now. I'm wondering why you couldn't see it on screen. There you go, the Plan Virtual Summit by Renovating Life, and there it is. That's what you'll be looking for. There you see it now. Portugal Plan Virtual Summit. Get all access plus exclusive content and bonuses, usual sort of thing with these online webinar type virtual summit sort of things. Tabitha's also here this evening. How are you, Tabitha? Look, I am surrounded by poets, it would seem. Great to see your poetry. I think you sent me a snapshot of one of your published poetry works, Tabitha. You're in good company tonight. John Brand is backstage here as well. He's a legendary poet. John, I was reading some of your poems to my father-in-law, especially the one about the spider, which he liked a great deal. Facebook user, hello. Who is that? Is that you, Frank? I wonder, or is that somebody else this evening? If you'd like to declare yourself, feel free to do so. So let's have a look at those news headlines. If you want to call in a little bit later on and ask any questions, or even ask them in the chat, go ahead and do that. Let's see what's what as far as the news goes, though, this evening. Practically no unemployment. What? It seems that Portugal seems to be avoiding many of the ills that are a global phenomenon at the moment. Let me just go into the Portugal news, the website of that name. Portugal news, practically no unemployment. I'll bring it onto the screen because I think we need to click into that to see how well Portugal is doing. What do they mean? This is somebody's quote. Practically no unemployment means that there must be some, right? The unemployment rate in Portugal is at historically low levels, and there is even more pronounced. This is even more pronounced in the centre region, where there is practically no unemployment, according to the president of the Institute of. At the moment, we're experiencing a somewhat comfortable situation. These are very reserved terms, aren't they? Faint praise, possibly. In Portugal at the moment, we're experiencing a somewhat comfortable situation because the unemployment rate is at historically low levels. We are practically in a situation of full employment, and in the region, not only in Coimbra, but in the entire central region, the situation is even more visible, he said. The chairman of the board of directors of the IEFP, Domingos Lopes, underlined that full employment, and I did say, you might say Lopes, and I might say Lopes, and we'll find out exactly how to say that correctly on Friday when Philomena joins us for another pronunciation special. I need 3 shredded wheat that morning, coming up this Friday. Underline that full employment is more visible in the central region where there is practically, well, is it full or not? Or is it practically no unemployment? I think what they're getting at in the world of economists. There will always be some unemployed people, those unkindly perhaps referred to as unemployable. So practically no employment. They're kind of blurring into full employment. I get the gist. There is, in fact, a lack of manpower for the needs that companies have, but that is a good situation. Not if you're one of the companies that needs them. It's a funny world, isn't it? It really is with these economic markers. So there's your practically no unemployment article there. Let's have a little neb around the headlines, see what's what. Let me know what you'd like to take a look at tonight, and what your question. More questions tomorrow, of course. Ask anything about Portugal Wednesday. Do join us for that. Bobby O'Reilly and Alison Baxley. This will be maybe of interest. We're offering 4 weekly flights between Lisbon and the USA. Let's have a look at that then to see exactly the US airports they're going to be using. Delta offering 14 weekly flights then between Lisbon and USA. Delta, are they good? I've never used Delta. Those of you Americans who are tuned in, would you would you prefer Delta over TAP, for example? Take another plane. Although a lot of people in our community do speak fondly of TAP, that is the in-flight service and service generally, rather than the political situation surrounding them. At least said about that, the better probably right now. Delta Airlines has resumed their non-stop service between Lisbon and Boston, with today marking, and this was published only this evening actually, with today marking the resumption of daily flights between the two cities until January the 8th of 2024. There you go. That's a long time in aviation, isn't it? All the way through to next January. The service will also complement the daily year-round service between Lisbon and New York JFK, according to Publiciris. What? In total, Delta, what is Publiciris? Dare I go there? No, I'm not going to. In total, Delta Airlines offers up to 14 flights per week between Portugal and the United States this summer, offering up to 430 daily seats, including in Delta Premium Select and Delta One cabins. This is reading a lot like a press release, isn't it? Delta's non-stop flight between Lisbon and Boston also allows customers in Portugal to connect to a greater number of destinations in the US and beyond through one of our most dynamic and rapidly growing hubs, said Nicholas Ferry, who is Vice President for Delta's EMEAI region. It also means that our North American leisure and business customers will find it easy to visit Portugal, an increasingly popular destination, oh yes, in our network, allowing them to explore the country's rich history and heritage, and come and live here, of course, as well. So there you go. I won't read all of it, but you will see. You may be glad to know then that Boston and JFK flights then for Delta there. Delta is very good, actually, according to Charles this evening. Thank you very much. And where the Dickens do you purchase shredded wheat, which I can't eat, but hubby loves them? Ah, yes, shredded wheat, obviously a disaster for anyone who's gluten intolerant. I don't actually buy them. I just use that phrase as a way of suggesting that I will need to gird my loins quite seriously for a Portuguese pronunciation session with Philomena on this coming Friday. Let's scroll back a bit. They get darker. What do? The poems. Oh dear. Okay. Feel free to share tonight if you wish. Certainly a link to your poetry books. Poetry. Feel free to do that. And Savvy Cat, Anna's here, who is now, of course, a regular on the morning show and on the GMP VIP. She showed up on the GMP VIP. She's everywhere at the moment. So, yes, she is on the show as a regular. She is also on the GMP VIP platform. And she will be joining us at the meetup tomorrow in San Martino de Porto. Thank you very much for that. Let me just take that off for a moment while we take a few more comments. OLP, did you get any sleep? Hi, Carl. Great to talk to you this morning. Actually, literally talking to you on the phone and what a morning we've had. And I think we've been able to help Dougie even more as the day has unfolded. I need to sit up in the frame a little bit, don't I? I've got a cup of tea to drink here as well. And I've got one of these office chairs that just, when you lean back, it gives. I'm sure people have been injured on these before now. Yes, full employment, nearly no employment. They just have a lot of programs to manipulate the numbers. Honestly, what are they like? Yes, they are good. Delta. Delta has fantastic cabin crew. Great. And Delta is pretty popular and solid, I think. Good to know. All right. So as well as TAP standing for take another plane, Delta stands for doesn't ever leave the airport. Now, the reason these acronyms are so popular is because people do have a lot of time on their hands, don't they, at airports? That's funny. Doesn't ever leave the airport, not unlike TAP. Take another plane, thank you. TAP is too expensive from San Fran, costing 2.5 grand round trip. So I went with BA for less than half that price. How do they justify it? I suppose they justify it because people will pay it. But I mean, that's extraordinary, isn't it? That you can get half that price, even with BA. Not like you're flying Ryanair or EasyJet. You're flying with BA to get half the price that TAP want to charge you. Incredible. Although I've only had one trip where a Delta flight was ridiculously delayed. So that perhaps a little bit unfair, doesn't ever leave the airport. Let's go back to the paper and the Portugal news, see what else we might like to take a look at this evening. And what's on the homepage there? Let's have a look. There took a lot of talk, I think, about the weather. Portugal weather forecast. The IMF predicts growth of 2.6 for Portugal. That's what I mean about bucking trends. That's not a bad growth rate, is it, for a Western economy? Spain considering ending golden visas as well. I was talking to Jason Swan of Holborn Assets about the webinar that's happening. If you're interested in the golden visa or who know anybody who is, there will be a webinar where Holborn Assets will be telling you how to get in just before the end of that scheme, and that'll be next Tuesday evening. I think at 6 o'clock. If not at 6, then at 9 in the evening, but it will certainly be next Tuesday evening. And we had a preliminary chat about that this evening, which will be published on the Expats Portugal YouTube channel soon. A wind weather warning. I experienced that tonight. Went up to Gralha with the bigger of our two dogs, the more athletic of our two dogs. Took Jimmy for a walk up at Gralha, and certainly it was very windy up there this afternoon. German multinational invests in Coimbra. Good news for Coimbra there. And will it be hot this weekend in Portugal? I suspect so. It's a lovely hot day today. Insolvencies fall 9% in April in Portugal, and Portugal competing for Eurovision final. That's this weekend in Liverpool in the UK. Portugal calls for more effective sanctions on Russia. Dare I mention that and have people triggered about the goings on, especially today. There was a Victory Day parade for Putin in Moscow. I suspect today, and I didn't see a great deal of it. I did see the images, of course, on Portuguese TV. We don't have to get into that, but if you do want to let off steam, feel free. Could Brussels put the brakes on proposed holiday rental rules in Portugal? So if it wasn't hard enough for the government here, let's have a look at that, because if it wasn't hard enough with the whole Mais Habitação debacle, now Brussels are wading in, and I was talking with somebody earlier on today about the EU and Brussels favouring or not favouring the golden visa, and it occurred to me that Brussels, the headquarters of the EU, might want to have a Schengen golden visa at some point, but I don't think they really like it when the nation states implement their own golden visas and give passports, EU passports away on favourable terms. So let's take a look at this Mais Habitação situation with Brussels try and overrule local policy. Brussels is still waiting for details about the new measures from the Portuguese government to analyse and then issue an opinion on holiday rental AL rules. I wonder if our government here in Portugal are quaking in anticipation of that. The Irish government has put forward a new local housing act with the aim of increasing the number of homes on the rental market. That's a good move, isn't it? Bobby O'Reilly's has spoken about that when we've been looking at this. But after analysis, the European Commission, EC, has decided to block Ireland's plan to tighten the AL rules. This means that Brussels has the power to block new laws that may affect. I'm cutting and pasting that and sending it to Bobby right now. This means that Brussels has the power to block new laws that may affect the AL measures that the Portuguese government has put forward in the Mais Habitação program. So there is a possibility then of a little bit of overruling from Brussels with this matter. It's far from over. In the case of Ireland, the EC considered that all new AL law had disproportionately restrictive measures and that they did not offer guarantees of effectively increasing the number of houses available in the long-term rental market. Now the Irish AL plan, it's funny, isn't it? They're calling it an AL plan when AL stands for Alojamento Local. I'm sure it's not that in Irish. Now the Irish AL plans are under analysis and will be frozen until the end of the year, according to a report by Dinheiro Vivo, live money or money live. It now remains to be seen whether the measures relating to AL that are part of the More Housing package may or may not have a similar fate. For now, Brussels is awaiting information from the Portuguese government. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine that? One bureaucracy talking to another bureaucracy, an even bigger one in Brussels. That's going to be a lot of reporting and consultancy right there, isn't it? Meanwhile, everyday people are just struggling to make sense of all of this nonsense. Quite extraordinary. Oh my word. Excuse me. Just sending that to Bobby right now. I imagine we'll pick it up and run with it in the morning. What else is going on in the Portugal news then, as well as the possibility of Brussels overruling Portugal's national government? BA equals British Airways. Have we not got a better acronym than that? It does literally and officially stand for British Airways. I wonder what WAGs have come up with as a different acronym to reflect British Airways service. Okay, it used to be that it didn't matter if you're going to heaven or hell. If you're on Delta, you had to change in Atlanta. Taking a cheeky sip of tea, which I'd hoped I would have had a long time ago, barring these technical difficulties that beset the start of the show. That's great. A lot of nice airport banter this evening. One of the main reasons there is no unemployment is that there are no new positions are created. Oh, I see. So that's the way of doing it then, is not to have any jobs. And then you've got nobody not taking them, which technically is no unemployment. Wow. BA British Airways, yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Tom, for that. Brussels and all the northern EU states can sod off, according to Ubi, with their golden visa sanctimony, in my humble opinion. Doesn't sound very humble there. I think the golden visa's ancillary investment draws ancillary investment way beyond the golden visas themselves. I think you're absolutely right. And again, I've talked to Bobby O'Reilly about this. It's not as simple as it may seem. And it's not the bogey man, the bad man that it may seem either in the great scheme of things. So and you're not a fan of the Federation, Ubi, OLP. What Tom said, is that what British Airways perhaps there? Okay, let's go back to the Portugal news before we take a look at the Portugal resident as well. Any questions this evening, or are we just hanging out? I don't mind that at all. This, of course, the Good Morning Portugal endeavor prides itself. Oh, I know what I want to share with you. I want to share Andy Klein video making course using your mobile. Yes, Portugal endeavor is, of course, a way of keeping your Portuguese pilot light lit in anticipation of you coming here. Andre Agassi's divorce settlement finally revealed. Is anyone honestly interested in that? Please, nobody tell me that they're interested in that this evening and they want me to read that this evening. I mean, that's an advert. Oh, was he married? Oh, look, now I'm being drawn into it already. Is that Brooke Shields? That's why people might be interested. I'm not. Honestly, I'm not. Do we look at Portugal's 2.6% growth, or do we look at something that may be a little bit more prescient and useful to you? Oh, if you had a COVID-19 flight cancellation, the Court of Lisbon rules on COVID-19 flight cancellation compensation. That might be a possibility for some there. Portugal continues to be one of the most profitable destinations in Europe. Well, I think we should go take a look at that, don't you? And I just saw about amount of speeding fines that have been issued. Don't like to read something like that when I've been driving about and so on. Anyway, Portugal continues to be one of the most profitable destinations in Europe. What does that mean? Let's find out. The real estate continues to be a sector that shows resilience in the market. Annual returns generated by investment in commercial real estate. Oh, okay. All right. So it's a profitable investment destination. I thought it was something to do with tourism, but no. This is investment and good returns, it would appear, here in Portugal. Annual returns generated by investment in commercial real estate in Portugal rose from 6.8% in 2021 to 8% in 2022, according to the MSCI Portugal Annual Real Estate Index. Some people wait up for that to come out, you know. This result makes Portugal one of the most profitable destinations in Europe in this market. We are bucking so many trends right here. In 2022, the real estate market achieved a return of 8%, with the hotel and retail sectors in the spotlight, revealed the MSCI. Within commercial real estate investment in Portugal, there were segments that returned higher returns than others. points out the same index. Hospitality, annual return of 12.5 in 2022, retail return of 8.5 in 2022, and offices generated a return of 7.3%, industrial assets 7.8, and alternative assets, what would they be? 4.4. You get the gist. It's a good place to come and invest. And do we read on and get another press release quote? Let's do it with Luis Francisco. Cited by Vida Immobiliaria. Hold on a minute. This is what he said. Portugal had a very interesting evolution in the European context in 2022, in a year in which almost all other markets registered lower returns than the previous year. In addition, our country was an exception with regard to asset valuation, taking into account that significant value corrections were observed in some of the most mature markets in Europe, such as the United Kingdom or the Netherlands. So well done, Portugal, again. This is a very positive and upbeat look at the newspapers. Let's switch over now to the Portugal Resident and see what's going on over there. Can I whet your appetite with their headlines this evening before we take a look at Andy Klein's how to use your mobile phone, your smartphone, to make great videos. Slow to load, Portugal Resident. What's going on? I thought I sorted it out this. So I think it's fair to say the oh no, there is a bit of a delay, isn't there? But not as bad as this morning. So we have a little bit of a delay, but not too bad. But we appear to have a slow internet connection, which is hardwired to the router. Oh, I don't know. Let's see what's going on in the comments before we go back to the Portugal Resident. All right. The wealthier nations don't want anyone realizing that there are better places to move themselves and their monies than Frankfurt and Paris. Ubi. Interesting what you're saying there. Yes. Is the tap scandal old news now? It's not. It's no longer news in the sense of it's not new, but it's ongoing. It's been going on for a long time, and it's still going. Thank you very much. Oh, cheers. Nunu's popped in a link to to the Eurovision finalist. I think it's not a Savvy Cat, but she's got a similar name, hasn't she? The Eurovision. What's she called? Sexy Cat or something like that. Is the rental market calming down? I heard it's a global issue in Berlin. They are getting 200 applications for one vacancy. Yeah, I saw a crazy video. I think, was it Australia, possibly, where hundreds of people turned up for one vacancy. Not seeing anything about that yet, but if I see something in the news headlines, I will come to it. Overpriced elitists who want to spoil things for Southern Europe. In general, I actually am an EU booster, but when politicians and bureaucrats blanketly poo-poo golden visa programs, yeah, you don't like that. No, it is not Smelly Cat, the Eurovision entrant. Perhaps somebody could look at Nunu's link and put us out of our misery, because I can't remember. Between you and me, I don't think it's going to win. It doesn't have Eurovision winner written on it. But then again, nor did Salvador Sobral. But that was a really beautiful song. I'm not sure you would describe the current entry as beautiful. Okay, Portugal Resident then. No, thank you. I don't want updates sent to me automatically. But we can look at the price of food here, which I think may be of interest to you. So let's do that as the first article we look at in the Portugal Resident. We are getting a little bit of lag on the screen, aren't we? But nothing like we had this morning. I really don't know. I've tried different connections. I've tried different computers. Maybe it is StreamYard after all. Okay, let's take a look then at this hamper of essential foods costing just €2 more since the EVA was eliminated. So what would appear to have happened then is that the EVA suspension, the value-added tax on some foods that was suspended on 46 food products, let's take a look at that now, has attenuated the actual cost of living. So it is costing a little bit more, but not as much as it might have done if EVA hadn't been scrapped from 46 essential items. Let's dig deeper into this with Natasha Dom, published today. Price increase is evident after just 3 weeks of zero EVA, the value-added tax, what we would call a VAT, or sales tax, you would call it in America, right? The much-touted elimination of EVA value-added tax on 46 food products considered essential has not really made much difference, but it could have been worse. Let's face it, Natasha. Certain foods, like, not that I'm being an apologist for the rising cost of foods like spaghetti, have reduced in price by a few cents. Spaghetti, between you and me. But overall, the essential hamper has increased €2 in price in just 3 weeks. Foods that have contributed most to the price increases are potatoes. Oh, the fresh produce, potatoes, onions, lettuce, broccoli, and chicken breasts. say the Lusa news agency. To be precise, EVA was eliminated on April the 18th at a point where the essential hamper of 46 foods cost 156 euros 44. Now the same hamper costs 158.44. So it has gone up, not as drastically as it might have done, however, if those EVA scrappages hadn't taken place. This week, this news refers to food purchased at a supermarket, hypermarket chain. People taking the time to visit weekly farmers markets will find very different prices, but these rarely sell chicken breasts and other items on the essentials list. Really, Natasha? The local markets sell all of that produce, and you can go to local butchers as well. As Lusa stresses, some items have reduced in price, not just spaghetti. Others have stayed the same. But overall, EVA Zero hasn't even touched the sides of families' struggle against inflation. Yeah, I guess it's protected them from an even bigger hike, but it certainly hasn't reduced the cost of their weekly shopping. Okay, let's see what else is being said here. Actually, let me mix it up a bit because I do want to show you Andy's new uh, mobile phone camera training course that we have on our GMP VIP community. Let me show that to you now. Okay, I'm going in. I'm going to give you a little preview of this. Let's have a look and go into the GMP VIP virtual village right now and have a little look around at what's on offer over there. That's the timeline, and we were talking about car hire in Portugal earlier on, electric vehicles in Portugal. Let's take a look at the classroom then and see what is on offer from Andy. You're carrying an entire media production facility in your pocket. Just very briefly then, want to tell you about what is in this wonderful course that Andy has created. From the kindness and goodness of his heart and his professional expertise, he was, of course, a teacher of such matters at which one was it? Missouri State University. Forgive me, Andy, if I've got that wrong, but yeah, you're a prof on these matters, documentary filmmaker professionally as well, and here you are showing people how to use their smartphones and turn make better smartphone videos, basically, including the decisive moment, part 1 after the introduction, gearhead, how to hold your camera, part 4, composition and filling the frame, part 5, audio, how to tell a visual story, how to edit to tell a visual story as well, and the conclusion, and of course video. 12 nearly 30 minutes thereof. Thank you so much, Andy. I want to thank you publicly for that. What a lovely asset available to the Gumpers over on the GMP VIP community, along with all of this other information. Yes, including Benjamin Stubbs tip of the week. Smile as often as you can for no particular reason. Is anyone doing that? And are they finding that fun? Let's get back to the Portugal residents, shall we? Okay, let's see what's going on over there. After we've had a few comments from you, Nunu, that means something else in Canada. There was a parliamentary. Sorry, I beg your pardon. There was a parliamentary hearing about TAP today. Since my Portuguese isn't that good, I'll have to check the English sites or rely on Google Translate. Can you do that for us, Tom? It would be great if you can do that whilst multitasking here and let the OLP know what's going on. They parade their ignorance of basic economics. Who's that? Economists, and their eagerness to pander to bad politics, often racist and xenophobic, disguised as good policy. Who are you talking about there, Ubi? Are you talking about the Northern European countries, possibly? I'm not sure. General question for anyone who cares to opine. Covilhã versus Évora. Oh, good one. I want to say that my friend Carl McAdam spoke to him about Covilhã and Fundão, the difference between those two, and that's a video that's available within the last couple of weeks, but no direct comparison of Covilhã and Évora. Nunu, would you happen to be able to help with that? I heard one lady received 500,000 and has now been ordered to pay it back. I hope she didn't already buy her villa. Now, this is one of the beneficiaries, is it, of the TAP? What should I call it? Not a charity. Furore, controversy. Won't be getting myself into too much trouble by saying that. I think I like the university in Évora better, but it may be a bit too hot in the warm months. I think you're right. Covilhã winter doesn't bother me if they actually have winter there. I think they do. In central Portugal, there they do. It is a marked difference between summer and winter for sure. And Évora will have that intense heat, I think, greater than even greater than you will experience in Fundão and Covilhã. But all of those places are warm, Ubi, and as I've said before, and I'll say it again, do you want to spend your time warming up or cooling down? It's a useful measure when deciding where to live here in Portugal. Let's go back to the Portugal resident then and see what else is in the news there. And we have golf courses want connection to wastewater plants to reduce consumption. What an excellent idea that is. There's the article that I looked at this morning. I was disgusted to see that Portugal, albeit one of the lesser perpetrators of wasting vaccines, 3.5 million of them here in Portugal, down wherever they go, hopefully into what's it called, clinical waste, along with all the masks and everything else that should have gone in there. But you talk about single-use plastic, 3.5 million doses of COVID vaccines, unused and out of date, and costing the taxpayer a hell of a lot of money. One of the things from that article which intrigued me, I'll use that word, was that the price that has been paid for vaccines by Brussels to the pharmaceutical companies is confidential. Why would that be when ordinary citizens were being asked to be transparent and open as to whether they'd been vaccinated or not with vaccine passports and so on? Why is it not transparent, the amount of money they've had to pay for the vaccines that they've had put into themselves, I wonder. A former director of Presidential Museum slapped with a 6-year, 6-month jail term. That's only 1 6 short of 666 there. Or maybe he got 6 weeks as well as his 6 years and 6 months. Must have been a very naughty boy to get a sentence of that kind. I think he double-crossed the office of the president, didn't he? As a former director of the Presidential Museum. It's an interesting story, but not one that I'm going to go to now. I'm looking for things that will be of interest to you over there in the United States. Portugal calling for more effective sanctions against Russia. World needs diplomatic arsenals. Defense of rights by Europe, Antonio Guterres. So there's been some, what have we got here? We've had a visit, have we not? Or is it our president who's been going off to meet Senor Guterres? The world needs diplomatic arsenals, defense of rights by Europe, says Senor Guterres. A UN Secretary General in Spain. Okay, so near a bit of Iberian action. Let me bring this onto the screen so you can see it. What's going on with Portugal, Spain, and the United Nations at the moment. Yeah, I'm just going to share that onto the screen for you now. And I've seen my Wi-Fi is all over the place. I'm getting a poor signal. I really don't understand what's going on here. Anyway, UN Secretary General in Spain to receive prestigious Charles V Award. What do you think of the UN then, Ubi? Prod Ubi a little bit and get an opinion on that. UN General Secretary General Antonio Guterres has argued today that the world needs diplomatic arsenals. What the hell does he mean? To ensure peace, and that Europe must reform itself to defend all fundamental rights and values unstintingly. Never since the creation of the UN and the European Union have these values been so threatened. Interesting. He told his audience on Europe Day. I didn't know it was Europe Day, did you? There are so many days of this, that, and the other. We're only just over Mother's Day, Portuguese Language Day, and May Day, aren't we? So it was Europe Day by the sound of it, just recently. Maybe would it have been yesterday? In Costa Just, Spain, where he received the Carlos V Award from the King of Spain, Felipe VI, in a ceremony attended by the President and Prime Minister of Portugal. So they popped across the border for this. We must therefore raise our voices and reaffirm these values, and above all, we need peace. I think you're preaching to the converted, us regular people over whom you laud these ideas. Most regular people, I think you're talking to the wrong audience here, gesticulating and pontificating among ordinary people. It's the warmongers of the world. You know who we're talking about, who you need to speak to. Mr. Guterres insisted, Mr. Guterres, who described violence today in too many corners of the planet. We know all of this, don't we? In wars such as the one in Ukraine, but also in other wars and humanitarian crises that are often far from media focus. Wow, okay, depends on that media focus, I guess, and what those media outlets and who funds them are trying to bring about. Oh, this is hello, America. This is Portugal. Maybe I'm getting too political this evening. In the last few minutes, peace should never be underestimated or taken for granted. Here. We must work for it every day without rest. In a world that is tearing itself apart, we must heal the divisions, prevent escalation, listen to grievances. Instead of bullets, we need diplomatic arsenals. I still don't really know what that means. I mean, does diplomatic arsenal mean the ability to talk to people with the aim of finding peace at the end of the conversation? I mean, why not just call it talking peacefully or seeking peace? For the Secretary General of the UN, it is necessary to reaffirm the primacy of peace between people, but also peace with nature. Guterres stressed that climate chaos is endangering the very survival of humanity and causes phenomena such as fires, floods, and droughts that displace millions of people and exacerbate tensions and inflame conflicts. We know all of this. We're looking to you, the great and the good, so-called, and the leaders of the free world, to sort it out. I don't think we need another lecture on the usefulness of peace. I think we get that. Okay, sorry, have I gone on a little bit too much tonight? Just because I had a tech problem, I might have got a little bit eggy. Smiling for no reason makes people wonder what you're thinking about or what you've done. Absolutely right, Ben. But it's very good for you, apparently, and that's why Benjamin Stubbs recommended it. How are you, Ben? Good to see you here. And is there, we didn't notice in central Portugal, oh, you leave a comment too long and you don't get the context. At the TAP hearing, they spent an hour trying to figure out how long they had to ask questions. Whoa, there you go. Talk about long grass. Good evening, people, says Lee McGrady. Hey, Lee, I loved your answer to Bruce Joffrey's question, which I'll give a little preview now because I'm going to feature it tomorrow. I took a snapshot of this because there are two people known to the Good Morning Portugal community, which or what don't know what in Portugal. Joffrey over there at Portugal. Lee McGrady says, sleeping with your sister-in-law, turns out that's not acceptable. I think he's joking. I hope he's joking. And John Cunningham says, this is a true story, unlike Lee's, I suspect. Well, I was doing some roofing work last summer, and it was very warm, 40 plus, on a roof in 40 plus temperatures. What's that? That's 90 for the American Fahrenheit. So I was working in just a vest. When he says just a vest, that sounds very dangerous when you've got all those roofing nails and hammers and slates. I hope you had at least some underpants on in that mix. GNR stopped by and insisted I put on some trousers. So there you go. If you are working on your roof, whatever the temperature, you must wear trousers. Apparently there are laws demanding that be so. Thank you very much, Lee, for prompting that. Thank you for being here tonight. I think the UN is great, but should have thrown the Russians off the Security Council approximately 9 years ago. How would that have helped, Ubi, I wonder? Tried to sue British Airways because they lost my luggage. Turns out I didn't have a case. Oh, my word. Tabitha, you see, you had 3 shredded wheat in the humour sense tonight. Ben in France, if you smile for no reason, they think you're American. Oh, my word. 104, not 90. I was double. Of course it is. I got my math wrong there, didn't I? It's double it and add 30, isn't it? So by my calculation, 111, but I suspect you're more accurate there, Tom. It's just a rough rule of thumb, isn't it, to double it and add 30. Furthermore, says Ubi, I think the UN should have its own naval task force and a few divisions of Marines under my direct control. There you go. New UN president-elect, or self-elected, Ubi. Thank you for being here tonight. We'll leave it there for this evening. Sorry, it was a little bit hasty and only news focused, really. No guests this evening, but hopefully we have kept ourselves warm around the Portuguese, about the pilot light of our Portuguese passion that can in any time ignite into passionate flames of having a great life here in Portugal, which is a terrible analogy to use, I know, as I'm uttering it as it issues forth from my mouth. But you know what I'm trying to get at. We're keeping your pilot light lit here in Portugal, helping you to stay upbeat and positive whenever some of those steps, you know the ones I mean, related to Seth mainly, are setbacks. We're here to help you recover and celebrate any good milestones that you've got. Good show, says Steve. Well, thank you for that, Steve. Much appreciated. Always like a bit of positive feedback. Have a great evening, and we'll start where we left off with our sponsors video of the Herdad de Mayo. And we'll see him in the morning. He'll be joining us from 9 o'clock tomorrow morning after the Gumper Gathering at 8:30. And Alison Baxley joining us from the Portugal Plan Virtual Summit from 9:30 tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Bye for now. And don't forget to smile for no reason. It's good for you.